I am in Kiryat Shimona tonight. If you look at a map, that's in the panhandle of Israel, right up in the very far northern tip. And I have been to Kiryat Shimona many times during the war. Every time I've been here, except for this time, it's been a ghost town. There have been attacks virtually every time I've been here, both drones, indirect fire, anti-tank rockets, missiles, all that stuff coming in here from Lebanon, which is just that way, a couple of miles. Lebanon is so close, and Kiryat Shimona sits down at the bottom of an escarpment of a hill, and Lebanon's up on the top of the hill. So they could fire down on Kiryat Shimona, and you would have only seconds to take cover. If you have been following the hot zone for some time, you might remember when Oscar and I were here, and there were the air raid sirens kept going off, and we kept having to take cover, and then the air raid sirens would go away. We'd venture back out, continue with the live, then the siren would go off again, and I'd have to dive for cover again. It turned out it was drones coming from Lebanon. Well, all that has stopped. And so there's some good news for you. Kiryat Shimona is open for business once again. When I drove through downtown on my way here today, some of the stores were opening back up. Like there was a optical store, you know, sunglasses and reading glasses and stuff that was open. Doctor's offices. The main hotel in downtown was being used to house troops, and now it's closed for renovations. What does that tell you about putting troops up in your hotel? I can guarantee you if they had put my Ranger unit up in a hotel for a year, they would have had to renovate that place too. Coming through Kiryat Shimona, couldn't believe all the cars, all the parking spaces were filled on Main Street. Now, not all the stores are open. There's still a lot that are boarded up. I saw quite a few actually that were still boarded up or had the big metal doors rolled down. And there are still scars of the war around town. You don't have to look too hard to find buildings that have been hit with rockets and shrapnel and stuff like that. You can still see scars on the hillside where there were fires from mortar rounds and stuff that were being fired over here. But all of that, for the time being, is over. And how exciting is that? I mean, to be able to come here and sit out here at a resort, and I don't hear any air raid warnings. I don't hear any big bangs going off. During the fighting, there was a military unit staying here that was an artillery unit, and their artillery pieces were just to the south of the campus that I'm on. And so they would run out there and fire off their guns. And I remember hearing those guns firing from over this direction. So I'm sure it was these guns that were parked here. Well, that's all gone. I saw a bunch of troops today, young men and women in uniform and out of uniform, but obviously soldiers, who were packed up, had their backpacks on, and were heading for the bus station. So they must be heading back home, wherever home is. And so that's good news. And as I drove through town today, just looking at the signs of life returning to Kiryat Shimona, I thought about our friend Scott Ritter and all of the doom and gloom that he was saying, and may still be saying. The last time that I did a podcast about something he said, my Answering Idiots series, he was saying Israel is losing. They have lost. They've already lost. Their economy is crumbling. Their military is decimated. And they've lost this war, and it's over for Israel. Israel is going to collapse as a nation. And as I just drove through it, it just made me smile, seeing life coming back into this area. Israel is not dead. Israel is not crumbling. Their economy is going to come back very quickly. Their military won up here. This is really the only place where they can say that they have accomplished their military objectives in the war, up here in the north. Because their military objective was to make it safe for the people to come back home in the north, and they have done so. Now, in the south, they still have work to do. In Gaza, it's a much more intractable problem that they're going to have to deal with probably forever. There are still many places in Gaza that are completely intact. There are places that the IDF has moved through and has left intact for humanitarian reasons. There's large swaths of the country that they have marked off as humanitarian safe zones. And in those zones, they don't blow things up. They don't destroy things unless it's an absolute military necessity. Oftentimes, it does become a military necessity because the Hamas fighters start to shoot at them from these safe zones and they have to shoot back. That's their policy. Many times, though, they'll track a vehicle full of Hamas fighters and they'll be getting ready to drop a ordnance on those guys and give them a one-way ticket to Boomtown, and then it'll go into a parking garage and come back out again on the other side. But they have learned not to blow it up if that happens, because what Hamas does is they'll drive into these parking garages and get out and put a kid, like a 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid, in the truck and tell him, go drive this somewhere else. And when the kid drives out the other side, if Israel blows it up, then they say, oh, Israel's massacring children, and they know that's going to happen. So they don't play fair by any standard of decency whatsoever. Doing everything you can to win is one thing, but committing acts of heinous evil, you certainly cannot. Even if you did win, you cannot claim the moral high ground, moral victory. You've already lost. So there are still a lot of places in Gaza that you wouldn't even hardly know there's a war on. As a matter of fact, just before I went live, I saw a video that was put out by Abu Ali on Telegram of Muslims or Palestinians in Gaza celebrating the end of the Ramadan fast last night. At sunset each night, they fast all day long, and then at sunset they party, right? That's the Muslim thing for Ramadan. They had a massive feast in Gaza. This was hundreds, maybe thousands of Palestinians seated at tables, piled with food, having a huge feast in Gaza right now. Even as Israel has shut off new aid to go into Gaza, they're certainly not starving in Gaza. As a matter of fact, these guys are probably eating upwards of 2,700 to 3,000 calories a day, which is far more than you need to survive. And that's why a lot of the terrorists that we end up capturing or eliminating are overweight. I think all Israelis understand that the two-state solution is a fiction. It's not just dead. It never was alive. It's a complete fabrication. It's a farce. It's a fiction. You cannot have a two-state solution when one side is unwilling to be happy with their state. Two-state solution only works if both states are willing to stay within their boundaries. These people who are supposedly so destitute, so poor, they're starving to death in Gaza, right? They've been offered $5 million, a ticket out of Gaza, a new life, safety and security from the state of Israel. And all they have to do is turn over information that leads to the safe release of any of those hostages, and nobody has come forward with actual actionable information. That's telling. And so there's no such thing as a two-state solution. It's not going to happen. Never will happen. The world keeps trying to make it happen, but if you follow this argument to its ultimate conclusion, the fact that neither side wants a two-state solution, what that means is that the Palestinians can no longer live in Gaza. When President Trump said that they should move all the Palestinians out of Gaza, it's really the only idea that would actually bring a lasting peace. Because if the Palestinians are unwilling to change their worldview and make it about something other than who they hate, well, then there's never going to be peace. Look, if you turned your country into a terrorist haven, you don't get to have a country anymore. That should be the rule. If your country is harboring terrorists, encouraging terrorists, facilitating attacks on your neighbors, then you don't get to have nice things. And that includes a country of your own. When you remember the horrors of October 7th and the tens of thousands of rockets that have been fired over the years out of Gaza, the flaming fire balloons that they've sent over, the times that they've shot at civilians and soldiers alike on the Israeli side of the fence, the various times that they have done everything from dig tunnels underneath to ram cars through the fence, to everything. When you have a people group that has made it clear, and to this day still makes it clear, that that's what they intend to keep doing, well, you don't get to have nice things. You don't merit a country of your own. And you should have to give up the land that you live in. Now, a lot of people say, well, where are they going to go? Egypt doesn't want them. Jordan doesn't want them. Saudi Arabia doesn't want them. Well, they could probably be persuaded, especially since Jordan relies on Israel for its survival. A large portion, about 40% of all their water comes from Israel. Jordan would dry up and die of thirst if it wasn't for their agreement that they have with Israel to provide them with fresh water. They also get billions of dollars a year from the U.S. taxpayer. So does Egypt. And tariffs are apparently a thing with the new administration, so you could always throw a few tariffs in there for good measure. I'm sure that with the right mix of incentives, whatever you want to call it, these countries could be persuaded to take the Palestinians. And if you think about it, 2.5 million people, it's not that much. We look at Syria. More than 7 million people have fled Syria during their civil war, and they're now all over the world. Same thing in Venezuela. About 7 million people have fled Venezuela, and they're now all over the world. Look at Ukraine. About 6 or 7 million people have fled Ukraine in the last 3 years. So it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility to relocate people from Gaza to other places. The problem is they don't want to go, and nobody wants to take them. That's the problem. So finding the proper motivation for both the Palestinians and the receiving countries is the real challenge. And that's why this probably will never happen.